going to pin him. Okay.
Hi, Karishma. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And I'm going to add you to the spotlight so that everybody can see your face for whatever it's worth, right? Okay, so thank you, Mr. Hacker, for joining us on this session and giving our participants a sneak peek into your exciting world.
Thank you, Karishma. Thank you, everybody. This is my first time that I'm actually talking about hacking. I've always been very quiet about it.
Mr. Hacker, your voice is very soft. Can you
Is it better now? Is it
uh,
better now?
no, not really. Can you just increase?
Thank you for again calling me here. It's actually my first time that I'm talking about hacking. I am using a few things to protect my identity. One is obviously no video. Secondly, I've actually changed my voice a bit so that even nobody can track it. Let me put a small presentation up. Maybe that may give it a bit of perspective. Uh, Even hackers find it difficult. See? Uh, Hi. Uh, my screen, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
So I'd like to a bit of, I think we'll do a freewheeling session. I a bit about me first. Um, I'm actually in the early 50s. I've been hacking since I was, before my teens. So way back in the 80s, early 80s, or maybe even the late 70s. I started hacking. You'll be thinking that there were no computers there. There were. They were very simple computers, and there was a language called BASIC that we started off. And I have no formal training in computers uh, before I started hacking. And I started hacking because I actually did not know what hacking was. I actually just started using computers in a way that many people did not use it. And that's how this whole journey of hacking started. Hacking was not the reason I actually, not my career. I've studied various subjects. I've worked in various corporates. And what I will try to do is explain to you some of the hacks that I've done. And what I would like you to do, and I think that's where I want to explain to people why hackers do what we do and why we stop hacking or why we continue hacking. I will also hopefully take you through what you should be worried about and should you really be worried about. Yeah, so that's where it is. And yes, I will. And Karishma, what we could do is we could keep people on mute until there are question answers so that everybody is clear. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So let's go to my next slide. So what are the type of hackers?
So, Mr. Hacker, before you go into what are the type of hackers, can you, just explain very simply to us who is a hacker? What is hacking actually?
Okay, so what is hacking? Everybody thinks that hacking is something bad. Everybody thinks that hacking is a negative word. Actually, let me take it away from computers and let me talk about most people. A hack is a way around. A hack is a solution. A hack is maybe a way to do something differently or faster or more efficiently. So, I like cooking. It's one of my hobbies that I do enjoy. And I remember many years ago, I went to my mom and I was trying to cook rajma, and I had forgotten to soak it in the night. And I remember the morning, I had to make it for lunch. I asked, what do I do? I needed to cook Rajma faster. I'm sure all of you here, at least 50% of you here, know what to do. If you were in this dilemma, you add a bit of soda, right? And then you start cooking it. The pectin inside the Rajma actually breaks down quicker, and you can actually cook your Rajma without soaking. That's a hack. That's actually a hack. Now, that's a nice hack, right? That's an efficient hack. It makes things faster. Similarly, there are many hacks that you can do across all forms of life. I mean, why only talk about computers? A hack is not necessarily a bad thing. Sadly, hackers have got a bad name. I'm going to restrict this entire conversation only to IT, but we can talk about all forms of hackers. And believe it or not, I would worry more about other hackers than IT hackers, at least for the common man. So let's talk about the kind of hackers. There are white hackers, black hackers, gray hackers, and all kinds of different colored hackers. It's all about intent and ethics, right? So what is a white hacker? A white hacker is actually a guy, the good guy, okay, or at least what society would call good. And I'm going to have this debate with all of you about good and bad. He's a guy who helps catches virus. He's a guy who helps you stay safe. You think that you're staying safe. So the guys who write an antivirus, you think keeps you safe from other hackers. Or the guys that protect your bankers, your banks, and things like that from attacks are the good guys. They're called white hackers. Then there's the black hackers, all the guys that get all the press. The guys who blackmail, the guys who steal money using the technology, the guys who hack into your phone and take out things. I mean, there's so many types. If you've been looking at the news for the last maybe 3 months, there have been so many hacks, and there are reasons for that. And then there's this gray hat hacker. There are guys who really are borderline. You don't know where they go. At times they're good, at times they're bad. It's all about ethics, individual ethics, corporate ethics, which government you work for. The other type of hackers are the kinds that, again, it's all about intent, sophistication. They're all really the same. They're either good, bad, or semi-good. One of them, which gets very interesting, is state and nation-sponsored hackers. Now that's where it gets really interesting. I'm not going to take too much of your time there. So that's where. So if let's say our country, I am a proud Indian. If our country decides to actually hack, let's say any enemy nation servers to basically protect itself, you would think it's good. But if you were that enemy nation, let's say nation X, that would be bad for them, right? So it's all about ethics and where you are. It's going to be an interesting conversation when we start on that path. Any questions for anybody about who is a hacker? Why, what is a hack? Does anybody have any questions? You can unmute yourself. Okay, so I think there are no questions. Should I go on to the next topic?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Please stop me if I get technical. I tend to have the habit of getting technical. So why do hackers do what they do? Right? And they are just the basic points. There could be many, many more. I just try to put down a few points. So one is obviously, we're really talking about most of the hackers as for financial gain. But again, financial gain can be multiple forms, and that requires different forms of hacking. One is I take your data, and Karishma, let's use you as a guinea pig. Let's say I take your data. I can, your Aadhaar card and your PAN card, which you tend to give anybody and everybody, if I get access to it, either in paper form or in electronic form, doesn't matter. Suddenly I have your identity. I can use this identity, and with a bit of, let's say, wicked intent, I can actually assume your identity and maybe take a loan in your name. And I know this has happened to people where they've got loans in their name. People have borrowed, spent the money, and then the loan collectors have come to the original person. I'm not saying it happens to a lot of people, but there are crooked people out there. It's not, actually, this is not an IT hacker. It's actually a normal hacker.
Yeah, I was just going to come to that. So this is not technically a hack, right? I mean, this is just misusing someone's data.
Right. So again, what do hackers do? If I get access to your online data, I can misuse it. I can misuse your identity. I can misuse your the way you think, and it can be. So if you actually go on to where a lot of the small-time hackers actually make money, and sadly, what they do is they sell your data to unscrupulous or maybe even relatively ethical companies who use it for their advertising, use it for their own purposes. It's not ethical because you should not be giving up your data without your permission. But that's what people do. The other types are one is identity, one is just your data, but the worst thing is blackmailing. And I'm going to cover this later because this is, in my view, something which is happening subtly, especially to the younger folks. When I have access to your data, and I'll give you an example. Uh, let's say I know. Let me give you a simple thing. Let's say, Karishma, you've gone on holiday, and your Facebook account posts pictures of you holidaying in, let's say, Sweden. Okay, I know that, and I am a guy who you don't know, but I've looked at your Facebook account, which anybody can, and I know you're in Sweden holidaying with your family. This data you think is very, very, it's nothing intelligent, but it is, because now I know that your house is empty.
Yeah.
Think what I can do with that. Now you would say this is not an IT hack. It is. I'm using IT. I'm using Facebook, but I'm using it for methods. And this is actually the most boring hack you can talk about. It can get far more sophisticated. And I will scare you by telling you one thing. When I used to be an active hacker, and this is really more than 30 years ago, maybe even 35 years ago, we never even had cameras on our phones. Now all of us have cameras on our phone. One of the easiest hacks that even a child can do, a 10-year-old child who knows basic programming can do, is switch on your phone camera without you knowing it from somewhere else. Think of what that can happen, assuming you or your loved ones take your phone to the bathroom, right? Because you're used to texting in the bathroom. You will not know the camera is on, but the hacker has kept your camera on and is looking at you. This is relatively common, but don't worry about it. This is not something you should. Again, I'll tell you when you should start worrying. The other thing again is psychological manipulation and social engineering. It sounds very technical, but it's simple. Using IT methods of using psychological methods, we can actually make people do what they would normally not do. There's some very good movies on Netflix that actually talk about these kind of psychological manipulation once you have data. Technical, but I'm not going to get to that. Governments use it, political parties use it, lobbyists use it, bad countries use it, and you don't even know about it. And this is not a virus, this is hacking. It gets more interesting when you start talking about stealing stealing data from companies, from governments. We all know of, how in the world, a lot of corporate espionage and government espionage is happening. There's a lovely movie that came out, a documentary that came out about how the US elections was manipulated by the Russians using a mixture of, I wouldn't call it hacking, but let's call it psychological manipulation. Corporate espionage is very common, and it's happened in my life. I stopped being a hacker. One of my employees was stealing data. He got a job in another competing firm. He was stealing data. Because I'm a hacker, I could actually catch him. I said something, wrote a hack, caught him. But corporate espionage, if that company had got my data, they could have actually made a better company than mine. Mine, the one I work for, my company was a pioneer in what they did. Now it's common, but 25 years ago, it was a pioneer. Hackers try to prove a point. So you have these, a lot of, I'm not going to name countries, but countries will go and deface one of the government sites of another country. A very sad thing that's happening during the Zoom days is that if, let's say we're doing this Tare, what is this called? Tare social Zoom call, and somebody just comes into the what do you call into this session and starts giving their political or religious agenda. So you can have people who do it for proving a point, making a point, trying to further their own interests. Revenge, and I'll come to that. And you can use hacking for revenge. This has been really serious all over the world. If you read today's paper, somebody has done that. Let's say you have private photographs on your phone. It's very easy for me to access it if I want to. Sitting in my house, accessing your data of your phone, uploading it to what I want, and then using that for any nefarious reasons. The good guys also try to protect all this, right? I mean, you need to be a hacker to catch a hacker. You need a diamond to cut a diamond. Similarly, and there's a lot of people that do that. And lastly, basic Kira, it's just fun. And that's where I actually got into it. And I just enjoyed the concept of trying to do something which people have never done. If you look at today's paper again, Zomato, the food sharing app, has put an ad saying that if you can find a flaw in our system, I will give you some amount, I think 2 lakhs. What he is saying is, hackers, try breaking into us. If you succeed, I will give you 2 lakhs. And that's very interesting, because what they're trying to do is, if the hacker breaks into it, Zomato will be able to plug that leak and therefore protect its data better. And for 2 lakhs, I think it's really small. So again, there are people who do it for good reasons and bad. Anybody has any questions? I know this is a long monologue and it may get technical. Karishma, any questions?
Yeah, to your point on Zomato actually giving an open invitation, I think it's a very risky proposition, right? If multiple hackers, end up hacking into their system, forget the 2 lakhs, their multi-billion-dollar IPO will probably have an impact, which is obviously launching very soon. But coming to your first point, actually, about financial gains and misusing of data. So see, of late, there has been an increasing trend, right, where you share, say your PAN card, or you share your Aadhaar card on WhatsApp. Especially, I'll give you an example. I have got access to at least 50 people's Aadhaar card pictures in trying to get them registered on CoWIN, right? So it's something as basic which you may do, and or you may do it with your banker. Say there's so many times now KYC is required, and now that everything is online. Suppose a banker reaches out to a senior citizen, and a genuine banker, right, reaches out, your own personal banker reaches out and says, ma'am, your KYC is expiring. We need to e-verify again. Can you send me a copy of your Aadhaar card, by WhatsApp, or your PAN card by WhatsApp? How safe is that? Because we're all doing it for various reasons right now, right? We're sharing. I'm sure a lot of you all agree with me that family members, or say a family member, right, is trying to do something for you, right? And that family member needs a copy of your Aadhaar. So you very innocently, the family member also very innocently, he or she is not a hacker, but they're asking you to share the copy of the Aadhaar on WhatsApp or something. So how safe is that?
So okay, this is, I can answer this right now, or I can maybe take this later. I have a slide on how to protect yourself. But remember, I think I'm going to, before I scare people, I actually want to unscare people. If a person's intent is to hack you, so let's take Karishma, you and I decide that I really want to hurt you. Okay, and I'm just a generally let's say an average hacker. If I'm motivated enough, I will try to figure out ways to hurt you. Maybe IT will not be IT. If I really want to steal your data, I can, and believe it or not, there's very little you can do to stop it. But with 1.3 billion people in India, most of us being common men, the chances of us getting hacked, if we are just relatively, safe, relatively cautious, is very low. We worry about it more than it actually happens. But yes, so I would tell people, please do not give out personal data to random people. But you have to give data, right? I mean, your banker, right? If you
Exactly.
not give it on WhatsApp and you give it on a piece of paper, if its intent is bad, you would have taken a copy home and you would have given it to a thief, and that thief could have done it. So if your intent is to defraud, you can, that guy may be able to, but most people don't get defrauded. Most normal people do not get defrauded like this. Having said that, we have to exercise some caution. I'll get into that later. Do we have time, Karishma?
Well, we are at 12, so maybe we have 15 minutes more.
Okay. So
15 to 20 minutes more.
Okay, so let me take it to the next slide. Any questions until this? Because I'm trying to explain to you rationale, and that's where it gets interesting. Why do people do what they do, and should you really fear hackers?
Okay, someone named R has raised his or her hand. Would you like to switch on your video, please?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not switching on the video, but then I
Okay.
have a question to connect with this. You know,
Sure.
of late we have a lot of startup companies, you know, and then they are integrating themselves, their services with the mainstream data like Aadhaar or PAN card or something. How safe would that be? Like,
So, you know, this is a question which, again, it gets answered by the same thing. Your data, I don't know who you are, Mr. R, but if I was motivated to find out, I know I can. Right? And I'm not your, I don't think I don't know who you are. But I know that if I was motivated, even in this Zoom call, I can. But your data is floating around. Even if you don't want to give them the data, believe it or not, they can get it. I would again tell you that minimizing the amount of information you give out, specifically personal information, would help you protect yourself. But believe it or not, I'll give you, Aadhaar was created so that information can be shared securely and is authenticated. Right? So there are checks and balances, but there will always be some highly motivated bad guy who may do bad with it. I don't think you should worry about it now. However, if let's say your grocer, the guy who gives you eggs, asks you for your Aadhaar, I would not give it. Logically, you should not.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're, let's say, a banker or the guy you're taking a loan, logically, he has a right to ask. He wants to know who you are. So I would be selective, logical. Do not give out personal information when you don't need to. Do not allow other people to take your personal information directly or indirectly if they don't need to. Does that answer your question, Mr. R?
yeah, of late when there is a verification, right, by the banks, they have a system that they carry wherein the person who is actually taking the data feeds it in. So you're probably convinced that, you know, they might not directly have any access to it, and it goes safely into the system which is encrypted, and that data is probably not accessible. So should we look for these kind of people, or like, I mean, giving me paper copies and all is still very suspicious?
I think, okay, so I think this question is a very important question. The question here you're asking is security. Is security, both paper and electronic methods are safe and can be hacked, right? It depends on the intent. If I would not give information to anybody who does not have an HTTPS is part of his web browser URL. That does not make it perfect, but that makes it safer. Most people would not have an S in their URL because it's not worth the price. But they could be a motivated hacker. By the way, I was conned recently, and I was quite proud that somebody actually beat me because he actually took 1,500 rupees from me, not from my account. I actually willingly gave it because he was able to hack it using an HTTPS server. So yes, a hacker can get hacked. But as long as, so if Amazon asks you for some data, you know that's safe. But if a company called hackerincorporated.com asks you for your data, I think you should not. Or a website that looks dodgy. You know, I have a slide that actually talks about it. Let me go to that a little later.
So, Mr.
I'll
Hacker,
just-
if I may, Mr. Hacker, if I may just say a few things, given that I have been a banker myself, to Mr. R's question. So, Mr. R, see, typically, even if, banks for their verification purposes are outsourcing it to somebody else, and if a third person, given that everything is happening online, some random number calls you up and says that I am calling from company XYZ and I have been appointed by HDFC Bank for verification and kindly send me your Aadhaar card copy or your PAN card copy, you do not send it to that person on his or her mobile number, because no bank A will ask you to do that. And even if you need to, then you just send it on the secure email ID that the bank provides you, if that's the question that you were trying to ask. And coming to startups which ask you to who are integrating with mainstream servers or mainstream institutions, again, a lot of them will not ask you directly for your PAN or your Aadhaar, right? Say for example, right? I'm sure you are seeing ads of this startup called Cred, right? Which basically, what does he do? They basically aggregate all your credit card bills, and then they provide you it's like at one shot you get an SMS from Cred, rather than you tracking when my HDFC credit card is due and when my ICICI credit card is due. If someone even dealing directly with financial matters like Cred, if you actually see, they do not ask you for your PAN or your Aadhaar or any of that. They just ask you for your mobile number, which is linked to your credit cards. So what I'm trying to say is that there'll be very few of these people who actually require you to provide this kind of information, online. And even if you do, you have to be very careful in terms of how you're communicating back. So as I said, if somebody is asking you for it, you say, give me the official email ID and I will share it on that, rather than sending it, to a mobile number. I mean, those are my 2 bits, given my experience. Somebody had a question. Somebody was trying to talk. Was that Jane Auntie? Somebody was asking a question.
Hello, can I ask a question?
Yes. Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Auntie. Hello?
I think she's muted herself.
No, I unmuted her. Is that Jane Auntie, right? Yeah. Hello?
So should we move on? I think.
Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Very
please.
basic one, maybe. See, when we go for online shopping, a lot of them ask for a name, email address, and phone number. Is it safe to give all that, or is it not safe to give that also?
So if it's a site which you trust, so your name I can know regardless of the net. If I have an intent to defraud you, your name I can get from anywhere. Your email I can get from anywhere, and I'm sure that your telephone number is available anywhere, because your telephone number, if you look at this app called Truecaller, it's actually stored in many places. So yes, this information should be saved, but again, please give it to sites that are credible. Please don't give it to some site that is dodgy. I like the statement somebody said that in real life, would you go and walk in a bad neighborhood? The answer is no. Why would you do that on the net? Do not go to bad sites. If you think something is dodgy, do not go there. And definitely do not share personal information. And that's what I want to talk about. How do you protect yourself? Requires simple common sense, nothing urgent, nothing weird.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello, can I ask you something? Hello,
Yes,
Yes.
Jane Auntie, yeah, we can
can
hear
I
you.
ask you something? Can you hear me?
We can.
All right. You know what? Now, suppose a genuine person from a bank wants to do some investments on your behalf, and he asks you for all the details. Then what? For your PAN card, for your Xerox copy of everything, is it safe if we give it to them?
Karishma, you want to take this as a banker, or I want to take
Okay.
this as a
Okay, let me say my 2 bits as a banker. Look, you have to share it, right, with with somebody. If you
Yeah.
are asking someone to do financial investments for you,
Yeah.
you have to share it, right? You all,
Correct.
you'll have an RM, you'll have somebody at the branch. See, it's no
Yeah, at the
different in the
branch.
way.
It's
So
through the bank. It's through the
it's through
bank.
the bank, yeah. So
Yeah.
you obviously will have to do that, right? If he's a
Yeah.
banking personnel sitting in the bank premises, right?
Yeah.
If he has access to everything, anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
So those things have to be done, right? Because
Yeah.
and he is doing it as an employee of that bank. So he
Correct.
has a power, and the bank also, you have to realize that the bank has done its own due diligence and verification of the individual, right? When they are, onboarding him, whether as an employee or giving a contract to somebody, Having said that, if at the end of it, there is a devious intention and he in his personal capacity, tries to use your data, because then that is data theft, right? Because this data he has received as part of his job as an employee of the bank. Right now, if he
Yes, right.
uses that data in his personal capacity and tries to do, something hanky panky, that is data theft, and that is purely on the intention of the person, right? Which I don't think you can safeguard against Mr. Hacker, right?
Okay. Thank you.
I think, Karishma, you said it perfectly. Again, but I will again put that hackers, if you're motivated and if you're a thief, will get back at your information, even though you don't want to. So be careful of any.
One second, show me. I'll show you.
Keep normal, the normal, worry that you should have about strangers. Please have those worries always, whether it's electronic or otherwise. I'm going to go to the next slide because I really want to get into how to protect yourself, and I'm looking at the time and it seems to be running out. I actually had a plan to take you through some of the hacks I've done to show you the ethics involved, but I think I will not because if you have time, we'll take you to the slide. This was really to show you the kind of hacks, and whether they're good or bad, you decide, because that's why hackers are confused, lost, and that's why people like me stop hacking, because we also do not know ethics at times, even at my age. So how do you protect yourself from hackers? I mean, this is something which, I mean, there are millions of answers. I've just listed out a few. And so let's go back to what is my motivation. If my motivation is financial, I still need basic information about you. What I am really happy about, and it's something which I've said in many forums, is that I love the security that our banks, the Indian banks, and specifically the Indian private sector banks, have done in India for financial transactions. I mean, I'm not here to say anything good about XYZ bank. I'm just saying that the systems are actually far more robust than in the US, right? Which is supposed to be the pioneer of all this. I actually feel unsafe when I go abroad with my credit cards and online banking. So what are the few rules that you should follow? One, and this is paramount, your OTP, one-time password on any format, on anything is very, very, very private. If you do not trust that guy with all your money, do not give your OTP to anybody. Even if he sounds like your loved one, make sure that that loved one is actually your loved one. I mean that nobody's. So I know of a very well-known hacker scam where they call you and they tell you that, listen, I'm stuck in the UK and I need you to, transfer money. And they said that OTP. I'm using my account, but the OTP is coming to yours because the bank has misused, has by mistake linked your account to mine. Please give me the OTP. Obviously, the whole thing is fraud. Even if it looks like it's coming from your loved one's mobile, WhatsApp, there are ways of fraudsters to get at it. Please do not give your OTP to anybody. Secondly is, do not write your password next to the place that it can be used. And I see this, Karishma, sadly, I don't know why bankers are not doing anything about it. But I go to an ATM, I see so many young people, forget seniors, young people writing their ATM password on their ATM card. It scares me because I can actually clone that card, and it's very easy. I can steal that card and take out all your money. Why would you do that? This is not a hacker. This is a thief who can do it. This is an uneducated thief can do it. People do not. Please protect. The government has done a fantastic job to protect you by using OTPs, using ATMs that are relatively secure. Please use that. Anybody has any question on OTP, please feel free to talk to me. I know how I can misuse OTPs in many formats, or a banker like Karishma, who I'm sure her job is to protect customers. I would also strongly, and I know this for a lot of, especially people my age and seniors, sadly, thanks to WhatsApp, thanks to the proliferation of the net, we tend to knowingly or unknowingly get onto the web in places that are really bad. I don't mean just porn. I mean, it may look like a good site, but it's infected. It may look like a nice place, but it may actually have people stealing your information. There's a lot of your information on your cell phone, trust me, which any hacker wants, right? You'll be surprised how much information is there in your cell phone today. If I had to go and hack anybody's cell phone, let's hack Karishma's cell phone. If I can just clone the Karishma's cell phone, this is what I'll get. I will know who her banker is because I'm sure she has a banking app on it. I will know her entire family because she'll have photographs of her family. I will have access to all her emails and therefore all her bank statements, which so therefore I know where she banks. The most critical thing is I know what her interests are because she's surfing those sites, and that interest is so easy to get. So I just have to go to her browser history. I actually can, by just getting into her phone, can actually know everything about Karishma, including where she is right now. That should scare you, Karishma. However, I should just be motivated to target you, right? I am not motivated to target you, okay? But be careful, guys. Do not go to weird sites. Do not go to, do not ever share your OTP, ever. If you're getting an OTP for reasons that you do not know, disregard it. Do not do anything about it. Don't tell anybody. Don't SMS it to anybody. Choose strong passwords. Please do not have passwords like PASSWORD or your birth date, because when I go and hack into Karishma's mobile phone, I'll also know her birth date. When I go to her Facebook page and I can go without her looking, I will know her birth date. Please do not put her birth date. I don't know her birth date, but please do not put your own birth date or your loved one's birthdays, because I can also find out Karishma's husband's birthday. Why? Or her son's birthday, because on Facebook, you'll be there, right? Be very careful on where you purchase, because where you purchase is where you give your information. What information are you giving? Where you live, your credit card number or your account number. Even if it's you're giving cash on delivery, you're giving your home address. You also are giving the data of what you're buying. If you're going to be buying a Tissot watch, we know that you are of a certain economic strata. If you know that you're buying the most, you're buying trendy, young outfits time and again, we know that you are young and therefore you have a certain profile. So be very careful from where you're purchasing. If you think that a site, if nobody knows of the site, please do not go. That was the hack I fell for 3 months ago. I found something which I really wanted, and it came up on Facebook. I don't use Facebook. I clicked on it. It went to a very authentic site. It had 800 plus positives. Something which would be worth 10,000 rupees. They were selling it for 899. I bought 2. And because I bought 2, I got it for 1,500. I was like over the moon. I never saw that person. I never saw that site again. It had all the things of a proper site, many reviews, HTTPS, all that. Luckily, I used UPI and I did not use my credit card. So he had a UPI registration, and UPI protected me because he cannot understand what my account is. It masks it. But it's that simple. I got conned. Be very careful from where you purchase. Just because on Facebook, just because your friend said so, just because people are, it looks very nice, does not mean it's a good site. Make sure it has an HTTPS instead of an HTTP in the URL. Be very careful of what you post, what you write about yourself. When Karishma goes on holiday, she should not tell me she's on holiday. That is very important information that I can take about her. And I'll tell you another piece of information. If she applied for a credit card and she's on holiday, that credit card is going to get returned. That credit card PIN and the credit card that's going to come to her house is going to get returned. I can just stand there and say, I'm Karishma, please give the card to me outside her door. And remember the credit card actually has a limit. I can actually take out the limit if I have the PIN. So be very careful what you post. Be very careful who you befriend. I don't need to tell you this. On the road, you will never talk to strangers for too much time or give personal information. Be very careful. There could be weirdos out there. There could be people who are trolling. Trolling means trying to find a vulnerable person. Antiviruses are great stuff, but just because you have an antivirus on your phone and on your PC does not mean that you're safe. A hacker like me has never been caught by an antivirus because we do targeted hacks. I don't infect the world. I will infect only Karishma for one thing that I want her to do for me, right? So I will never get caught. I will never get caught by an antivirus. I may get caught by the police because Karishma will have will file a complaint, but I will never get caught by an antivirus. Please have an antivirus, but don't assume that because you have an antivirus, you are safe. If you're going to have an antivirus, use only the top 3 or 4. Please look at the ratings. Do not use Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi, and do a financial transaction. A Wi-Fi means that if you are on Wi-Fi and I have an intent to hack, I can actually see what you're doing because data being transferred in a server which is not protected. It's very easy. A 10, 12-year-old programmer can do it. Apps that you have on your phone, on your computer, browsers that you are having on your phone and your computer, keep them off if you're not using it. Don't make them go to the background. Don't use apps that you don't know anything about. And this is something which I have seen a lot of my friends at my age. I've seen my parents at their age, and I've seen my daughter at her age do. They have random apps on their phones. They've tried it out once, they got bored, and they leave it. Delete it, please. If you're not using it, delete it. It makes your phone faster. It makes sure that a bad app does not do bad things to you. And there are a lot of bad apps out there. The papers tend to talk about a few of them. Most of them will never get caught. Specifically, if I'm targeting you specifically. And again, if I want to get Karishma's, let's say her HDFC password, I will tell her to download an innocuous app which she wants to buy a lampshade. She will download the app, buy the lampshade, and deliver the lampshade. So that app will stay in her phone. And when she opens her HDFC app, I will take all her passwords. Okay. Again, because I'm targeting her specifically that I can do this. Karishma, you don't have to get worried about me, but that's okay. And be very skeptical about links and attachments. When people send you links or people you don't know, or somebody has sent you a long email saying, please click this link and you will get 10,000 rupees off or something, that don't click it. If somebody who you don't know sends something which is a link or an attachment, don't open it. Specifically, if it is from somebody you've never heard of and it looks wrong. And lastly, there are no Nigerian princes, who have left you money, who will give you money if you click this. There are no millionaires in the UK who want to come back to India, but they need your bank account. There's nothing like that there. Okay, please do not. If you get an email from something that you should not, delete. Do not even keep it in your thing. Or if you have a loved one who understands technology, forward it to that loved one and say, I don't understand it. What should I do? These are simple, practical advice all of us can do. The most important thing I can tell all of you is, first, do not get worried. All of us, the virus writers, if their intent is to hurt you monetarily, they will target you specifically. And most targeting specifically is because of your lack of knowledge. if you do something stupid, like put on apps which are, which are not supposed to, or go to sites that are weird, because I know that you're doing it, right? I can target you. But if you're just normally cautious, don't do anything silly. Don't go to weird sites. Don't give your OTP. The chance of me hacking you ever is very low. Yes, I would actually spend my time and energy hacking Reliance, hacking Karishma's bank. I get more money out of them, right? And Karishma, which bank do you work for? Please tell me. It's interesting. And just to make it more fun, I don't hack, but I tell you how I would hack. Okay. I know Karishma works for a foreign bank. Now, what I would do is, just to make this more interesting, I still don't know where Karishma works. I just have to follow her one day to see where she goes, and I know which bank she works for. I just need now access to something called her employee code. And with her employee code, I have to basically get her employee pass. I don't know which bank she works, but if I did, that employee pass will give me so many rights into her system. I just have to enter a bank one day and do something bad using her employee code. So Karishma, please do not give my name or number to anybody. Okay, but that's how it's that easy. Because Karishma would do something stupid, I have access to her bank. That's how people have access. They have access because of people doing something stupid. Karishma, I'm just using you as an example. So that's what my 2-bit on protecting yourself. Do not worry too much about it, but please, the first rule is do not give any OTP to anybody. Do not give your personal information to people you don't know or don't trust. Basic rules. I have been hacked. I know all this. I have been hacked. So, just because I know hacking does not mean that I cannot. Any questions?
Yes, very important one.
See, couple of months back, I got one credit into my bank account. Amount was very small, some 6,900. And after some time, I get a call from somebody that in your account, so much money has been credited. Can you just give this money back to me? This was one instance. Couple of days later, I get another 21,000 rupees into my bank account. And the gentleman knocks at my door and says that I find my money has gone to your account. I mean, such funny things happened. Of course, in both the occasions, I did not take any action. And I said, I am not going to do anything. Neither I informed my bank. But after a couple of months, ICICI Bank called up and said that these are mistakes, 2 mistakes which have happened. Please authorize us back to debit to your account. I mean, how this can happen? I am a little surprised on that.
Karishma, this is a classical banking question. Do you want to answer that, or I can answer this?
No, so, Uncle, you said that he came to your door.
Yes, that's what the shocking thing for me.
Physically to your door.
Yes. And I asked him, from where did you get my address? He says, sir, sab possible hai. Sab possible hai.
He didn't tell us how he got our address.
But he walked up to my door. I was shocked. Of course, I mean, then I said, I'm not going to do anything. Bank has to take action. They have given a credit to me. Let them do whatever action they want to. Since he had my mobile, then he kept on calling me. I said, sorry, I will not do anything.
So this is actually, a very interesting thing, right? This is actually not an IT hack. This is actually a normal hack, right? And I think you've done a very good job of 2 things. That you only took authentic orders from the bank. And you know what? If I was the hacker, I was just thinking how I would have done it, and I would have convinced you to give me the money. It's again, I don't hack, but I do have the mind of a hacker. I just don't hack. So what I would have done is I would have put the money with you, okay? Told you that it was a mistake. I would have actually called you from another number, okay, from a landline, and I would have, using a different voice, asked you that I'm speaking from ICICI Bank, and this was a mistake by us. We are not able to do it because it's from. I would have given you some answer and made you do something else. But again, this would have been the way I would have convinced you that this is authentic. However, you would have actually blocked me because you would have used Truecaller to notice whether the second number is a fraud or not. But that also can actually, I know how to break Truecaller also. It gets more interesting. But yes, I think you've done a very good job by not doing anything. I think again, you showed normal caution, and that is the only thing required. It looked wrong. If it looked wrong, talk to the banker. You have to trust somebody. I would go to a bank and ask them. I would not do this on the phone. Luckily, I think you did a very good job. Most hackers are simple thieves. And the word is simple. The sophisticated hackers are not going to target you. Simple thieves will, right? And simple thieves may know more about technology than most people, but they're still simple thieves. They're called phishing. They will first go after you. You're too intelligent, they'll go after somebody else. Right? Be careful of those guys. And those are the guys you can protect yourself. Anything more, there's going to be bad luck. But keep simple rules. Again, I think India's systems are relatively decent. At least the financial systems. I don't know whether Karishma agrees, but I really feel safer in India than I feel in Europe and in the US.
Yes, we even feel that.
Yes.
No, absolutely. I think these are just, one-off freaks, if you ask me, because I'm, while Mr. Hacker has been talking about, I was just thinking, what are the ways in which, and how did he actually land up at your door, right? So either he actually, through an employee at the bank, tried to get out your information.
Looks like that. Looks like that.
Because normal circumstances, the bank employee should not disclose that information. But sometimes, I don't know, personal relationship, somebody, some relative is working and he managed to get the information. See, because if you think about it, ICICI actually reached out to you, okay, yes, this was a mistake, so please give it back. So which means that the person's intention was good. Maybe the banker knew him personally and knew, okay, yes, this, he's not a hacker, he has genuinely made a mistake. That's why he may have been a little more enthusiastic and tried to help by giving some more details about you. So it could be these sort of reasons as to how he actually managed to get your data. But otherwise, and these kind of mistakes do happen, right? Especially when
but it's surprising that the bank did not take it up immediately with us. Instead of giving him our data, the bank should have directly called us and maybe let us know.
But see, you never know, right? So okay, let me I'll tell you practically, right? I mean, whether it's you said it was ICICI Bank or any bank, right? There are thousands of branches. Okay, and if you see everything is connected through core banking, etc. Now suppose this individual who came to you, right, suppose his account is with Nalasopara, just an example. Sorry, I don't think you're in Mumbai, but I'm just giving you an example, right? So he walked up to his branch at Nalasopara ICICI, said, "Arey, मेरे से गलती हो गई, मैंने इस इंसान के अकाउंट में पैसे डाल दिए. Now how do I contact him?" Right? He may have been banking with that branch for 20 years, right? That person at the desk knows him very well. So he said, अच्छा ठीक है, ये तो दिल्ली का branch है, ये तो दिल्ली का account है, ये तो वहां गया है. So we'll have to put it up in the system. See, the banker sitting in the Nalasopara branch of ICICI is not going to pick up the phone and call up, the Delhi branch of ICICI. He will put it up in his system. Then it will go to the regional office, the head office of the state. Then it will go to the head office of the next state. Then it will reach the branch. So जब तक वो official communication होगी, वो 4-5 दिन, 6-8 दिन, whatever must have passed by. In the meantime, probably this guy got your mobile number or whatever, spoke to you, or in your case, walked up to you. But by the time the process was completed, they did eventually reach you. So, so these are really one-offs. And I think Mr. R has put a, point in the chat that, when someone says, "Sab kuch mil sakta hai, sab kuch ho sakta hai," it is scary. It is scary. Again, we're going back to the same thing. If somebody's intention is really to, hurt you. Otherwise, I can tell you, and I think I've said this in my earlier sessions as well, banking infrastructure in India is quite secure. And if you look at, the payment gateways and, as I've been, telling you all about, Google Pay and Paytm, etc., it does not give out your account number. right? So, you do not have to worry about, you giving your, you're giving your vegetable vendor, 200 rupees through Google Pay. He does not know what your account number is, right? So these are ways in which, the banking system is trying to make, transactions seamless for us without exposing us to too much of risk, right? He doesn't know. That's why you can, I mean, in the pandemic, I may have added like 250 beneficiaries on Google Pay, right? Vegetable vendors, fruit vendor, everything became Google Pay, right? But none of those 250 people know my bank account number, right? So to that extent, there is a lot being done, and I'm sure Mr. Hack, I mean, I'm not into, the IT security bit, etc., but there is a lot being done on, cyber laws, on IT security laws, and, to try to strengthen the system, as he rightly said, HTTPS, antivirus, all these things are ways in which you have to, try and make it as secure for you, and while you're engaging on the net, right? But there are small little, it's like, like you won't walk below a bent coconut tree, which is probably going to fall down, right? So it's as basic as that. It's not so complicated and not so scary. If somebody wants to, God forbid, hurt you, he will walk up to you with a dagger. It's as it's exactly the same, the same logic. If somebody wants to hurt you, somebody wants to hack into your system, somebody wants to defraud you, he can figure out, but that intention has to be really there to be able to harm you in a financial way, to an extent that he or she hacks into your system, right? But yes, be intelligent, be watchful. You don't click on links which come on SMSs. So I think Mr. Hacker spoke about the OTP. If you get an OTP, if you observe a genuine OTP that comes, it will say that if you have not generated this OTP, call up on the bank's number. No genuine OTP SMS will say, if you have not generated this, click on this link, right? If you get an SMS saying that, which means it is not a genuine message that has come to you. No bank will ask you to, say that if you have not made this transaction, click on this link. The moment you click on the link, you're asking for trouble, right? It will always say a genuine, just go through your SMSs and all, even when you do an online transfer, it will say XYZ amount has been debited from your account number, blah, blah, blah. If you have not done this transaction, please call on a toll-free number XYZ. Yeah, it will never ask you to click on a link. So please just be intelligent. Just read, just see if is this making sense? Is this looking a little off the cuff? Is it looking a little suspicious? If it is, don't do it. Call up your bank, find out, and then do it. Yeah. So
Got
just
it.
be a little watchful.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
So can I ask another question? See that
Sure.
HTTPS, we know that means it's secure, but how do we know whether an app is shady or it's okay? Is there some way of identifying apps also?
Okay, so let me take this. This is actually a very, so it takes approximately 1,500 rupees to make an app. Okay. I can actually install an app in your phone if I'm motivated without you knowing it. Okay. Surprisingly, if you have a Chinese phone, which is like Xiaomi, Realme, I can't even think of all the names. There are 5 to 6 Oppo. There is a good chance that they are trying to ask you to install apps that you don't know, right? So there is no way to know. So if you have an app that has installed itself by itself, please uninstall it. It could be these guys trying to shove some stuff down your throat. There is no other way. So I got conned by that, right? I got conned by looking at the 2-3 things that I normally did. So just because an app, find out how many people have used it. So do not ever install an app not from the Google Play Store or from the iOS, the Apple Play Store. I don't know what they called. It's called the Apple Store. right? If somebody sends you
App
a link,
Store. App Store.
do not ever, if somebody says, if you click this and you will download my app and therefore you can use it, do not do it. It may actually be completely fine, but I would prefer you not doing it. But there is really no way of knowing whether the app is secure. And that's what a lot of Google is finding out, that a lot of the guys on their app store also are not credible. I'm not going to say it's Chinese. It can be anybody. And it's really very easy to create a bad app. It's actually easier to create a bad app than a bad website. So I'm targeting you specifically. Nobody else knows, right? And it's one of the easier ways to make, to make a fool of people. And thanks to, so again, if you think about it, why can I do it? Is because you would download this app. You're doing something which you should not. Most hackers use the, I wouldn't call it stupidity, but the vulnerability of a human at the end to override natural defenses. Right. So even though that's, so, and most of my viruses which I had made in the past were always that. I was using human, actually at times decency, at times laziness to beat the software. Right. So, most of, if I put 3 pop-ups and you have to say okay to 1, okay to 2, okay to 3, there's a very good chance that there will be okay to 4. And that okay to 4 will be something naughty, something which you should not have done. So something as simple as that is very easy to make a hack. So yes, I think if you find an app which comes in without Google Store or App Store, do not, even if you trust it, like seriously, I would strongly suggest, unless it's your child giving it to you or a nephew you trust completely giving it to you, do not do it otherwise. I would, again, maybe Karishma will have a contrarian view, but I am very anti-banking apps on your phone. Not because the apps are bad, it's because people do not treat their phones as securely as they treat their PCs. People surf bad sites on their phone. People click WhatsApp links that they should not. And I have and Android is not as secure. Android is easier to hack in my view than Windows, and Windows is quite easy to hack. So, so I would prefer people not using banking apps on their phone. They're relatively safe, but because people are less cautious on their phone, I would prefer them using UPI instead. I think UPI is a great thing. It masks things. Google Pay is great, but avoid it. The better thing is to avoid having other apps doing bad things on your phone. The phone worries me more than a PC right now. And
So maybe one can keep 2 phones then. Is that a good idea to keep 2 separate phones?
I would catch both of your phones.
Okay.
No,
I was
think
actually thinking of what Mr. Muvani has said. I can think of 10 reasons how I could have gotten money now. I was just thinking about it while he was talking. 10 ways of getting money and who could have got your data. It may not even be the banker. It's only if you want to think, if I want to do that, I can.
Yeah.
But I should be motivated. Right? So it's very interesting. That's why, I always tell people, do not piss off a hacker because he can be really motivated in the wrong way. Do not give your information. If I want your information, believe it or not, Mr. Mulwani, I can walk over to your nearest grocer and get every data about it. Okay. I will know what you do, where you live, what you do, and I can just give 100 rupees and get everything. It's that easy. But I'll be a common thief. I don't even need to be a hacker. I just have to be a common thief. Right? Again, what you did was fantastic. You saved yourself. And most hackers, thieves are actually very basic. They're trying to find the weakest link and go after them. They'll target 20 people, get one person who does not follow the rules, and they'll get their money. But they'll go after 20. You luckily save yourself. I assume this was a hack. If it's not, it could be genuine. Guys, I've taken a lot of your time. I'm so sorry.
Interesting.
Karishma, I have taken a lot of your time.
I think you were very helpful.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed and everyone probably has learned, and Mr. Hacker hasn't really scared you all. If anyone will have got scared, please reach out to me. I will allay all your fears, but really just be careful. Don't get scared, right? Just be careful as to what you click and, you know, what you acknowledge and what you accept. Yeah, you should be safe.
Most hackers are not after you. They're after bigger fish.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm just a common man, right?
Unless they're motivated for any other reason.
Yes.
So Karishma, I want to know where
I
you
think
work.
another small thing just to wind up, I think to what, you know, you were talking about apps, and one thing which I did very recently was that, you know, like I can be honest enough to admit that in the lockdown, I've put on a lot of weight, and therefore some fitness apps, you know, kind of notifications, you know, were coming, generally on Facebook and stuff. And I actually clicked on it, and somebody, you know, reached out to me saying that, oh, you clicked on this link and we have this app and blah, blah, blah. And why don't you, you know, join our fitness program and stuff like that. So I hadn't heard that name ever. I mean, Facebook ads is not really a very credible source, you know, to go by. So what I did was I actually Googled that name up, right? And I just tried to see whether there were any news articles about it or whether there is some information about it. So when I Googled it up, you know, I figured, oh, it was a genuine, you know, fitness program, which has been in existence for the last 5-6 years. It had institutional funding. So when, you know, you see, okay, an institutional funding is there, you try to believe that, yeah, they've done their own due diligence and it's a credible name, and that's why institutional money has come into it. So I'm just saying there are various ways in which you can try and figure out, you know, whether something looks, you know, fishy or suspicious or no, and then, you know, take a call. So yeah, so sorry for repeating it again, but just be intelligent and you know, and you'll be fine. Thank you, Mr. Hacker, for your time. And if anyone has any more questions, you know, please WhatsApp us. And if there are any other topics that you would like us to cover in the Curiosity series, please do let us know about that as well. All right. Thank you, and see you all in the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Hacker. Very nice session. Thank you.
Thank you.